In this video, I'm going to go through a few items here, kind of narrating the thought process and giving you an idea of how to approach these questions, especially ones that are not obvious. So the first thing I do is read the instructions carefully. Sometimes I mess myself up because it's talking about June worksheet, and the June worksheet may not be showing. So that's the first thing I'm checking. Next is it wants a table style light 4 in A3 through D32. So I'm going to look at that range, and it looks like it wants that to be affected by something. Sometimes you can highlight something like that and then right click on it and look for something that might be called table style. In this case, I don't think there's a way of directly doing it from the right click. I'm going to go format, alignment, no. I thought there was another way. You could have chosen this, but this would have confused you. In any case, just to let you know, nothing is perfect. But if you were to guess this and click that, it's actually going to give you a process. First thing it's going to do is guess A3 through D33. In this case, I already highlighted it, so it's correct. Now, here is where it's doing something I didn't want. I don't even know what's happening here, so I'm just going to get out of this. Discard. And it does actually create a table out of this. And you'll notice, how do I know it's a table? There's a formatting and also this filtering. Now, let's just go back and say, well, how else can we do this? Again, typically I like to highlight the area first. We could right click, we tried that. In any case, we're going to go look through the home tab, the most obvious ones, and it turns out there is format as a table. So table style, format as a table, good guess. And then you go to light green 4, and that will actually do the job. Now, on the other hand, if you were just to click anywhere in the data and do the same thing, you will have a bit of a problem, just so you know about that. So if you click that, it's going to guess wrong. So you'll notice there's no separation in the data between rows 2 and 3. So it's going to assume this entire block is the data that we want. We don't want that, so we're just going to change it here. I'm going to change it to 3. And then instead of 34, let's make it 33. And then we do have headers. So this item you need to pay attention to with. Headers are these references. This is what each one of the columns are. Press OK. So different ways of doing the same thing. All right, next item here, annual sales worksheet, checking that. Then I'm going to apply the links, apply a link. I don't know why it's links S, it's probably a mistake, to the title Fusion Tomo Inc. that links to the website. Well, here's Fusion Tomo Inc. and we want to add a link to that. So the first thing I usually do is click on it and then right click. Is there a link here? It does turn out to be a sort of link. And so we could say, okay, that links to the website, a certain website, which we don't have here. The option is available, but there is something down at the bottom here, which we could click and it'll add a link. And then here, do we want an existing file or web page? Yes, we do. So then the address we need to type in is up here. I can just copy that. Copy, and then Control V, paste, hit OK, and hit next. Now, there is another way of doing this. If you clicked here, you went to Home, and then I think if you inserted a link from here, I believe you could do the same thing. Okay, so different ways of doing the same thing. This one says you want to merge and align right A2 through D2. So I'm going to look at that, A2 through D2, and it looks like you want to merge those cells and then align it to the right. Right now it's aligned to the left. I want it over here, aligned to the right. So let's see if there's something built in to do that. If you look at this, there is a merge and center. That's not really going to help you. You could go, I think, to format cells and then maybe alignment, and you could probably do it here. I don't know, merge cells and so on and so forth. Another way of doing it is to go to home, and you have a drop down here for merge. So you can merge across, merge cells. Now there's a two-step thing here, merge and right align. There is no direct merge and right align, so it's a two-step process. You're just going to have to figure out what steps are required to get that done. So I'm going to merge across, and then I'm going to click the right align. So home, and then the right align is up there. All right, and what we want to do here is add in this column here, E4 through E33, an if statement that's going to produce a 1 if the values in here is going to be greater than 2500, and a 0 if less than or equal to 2500. So there's different ways of doing this. What I recommend is starting with the logical test. So the way an if statement works is you're going to have equals if, a logical test that's going to produce a true or false, and based on that it's going to do one or another thing. So if true, what do you want to happen, comma, if false, what do you want to happen. So the first thing we need to do is create a logical test, which is a formula that produces true and false, that assesses this data here. It's going to assess that data, give you true or false, depending on the trigger here. The trigger is going to be whether it's greater than 2500. So if it's greater than 2500, we want 1. So equals that greater than 2500. That would be a logical test. Let's see if it's going to be useful. When it's over 2500, we want that. When it's less than 2500, we want that. It looks like it is correct. We could test that briefly by saying, okay, let's make this 2500 exactly. Let's make it 24.99. Let's make it 2501. So we're seeing that it does seem to correctly toggle true and false depending on the values here. So that would be a good logical test. I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to say, okay, let's build a logical test. If that is true, if it's over 2500, what do we want to appear in this cell? We want to appear 1. If it's less than 2500, 0. Go ahead and copy it down, and then take a look at it. Make sure that it seems to make sense. You can do a test if you want to. You make it this, let's say 2501, see what happens. It does seem to change the way we want to. So that would be a solution. You could also say D4 is equal to or less than 2500. You can do that too, and then you would switch these around. So instead of, if that's true, then you want 0. If it's false, you want 1. So you could do that too. Different ways of doing the same thing. This is a matter of the terminology. In cell B18, you want a reference to A7. And what does it mean by a reference? A reference means that instead of typing in the number, you would actually refer to that. So whenever it changes, the original one changes, which is B7, information down here would change. Two ways of doing that. One is type in equal sign in the target, go to the source, press enter, or go to the source. I'm going to copy and then paste, but I'm going to paste link. Should do the same thing. So if you look at it, that's what the reference is. All right, here we want to filter the data so only the people with a position of developer are displayed. So we want to filter this data. Now, one thing you may want to do is highlight the data, the block of the data in the first place. You'll notice that there's titles above it that might be confused with the data table. I'll show you all the ways you could do this. So one thing you could do is click in the data, and if you go to data and then you say filter, that'll give you the filters. But unfortunately, it's going to assume that that row at the top is your filters, which in this case is not. So what we want to do is highlight all the data first, so it knows exactly what we want to filter. Then go to data and then filters. And now you use the drop down. So if you want to only find developers, you click here, you deselect everything and just do developer. Now here we want to add a dark blue border to the image. Okay, so looking at this spreadsheet, the only image seems to be this, so I'm going to click on the image. You'll notice we have a new menu item, which is probably where we're going to find the command. We can also try right-clicking and see if we can do something to change the border on this. And if we hit Format Picture, there might be something about borders, and so we'll check that. And then I'm not seeing anything on dark blue borders on that, so that's not the way of doing it. So we're going to go to Picture Format and Picture Border, and we're going to choose dark blue. Give that a dark blue border of the image. So right-clicking in this case did not help, although I'm kind of curious. Don't know why it would not allow me to do that here. Size, text box, properties. Does not give you the ability to change borders from what I can tell. Solid line, color. Okay, so it could have been done this way. So it could have been line. It doesn't call it borders here, but solid line, and then over here is our border. So that's less intuitive than up here. Click that, picture border is actually a better way of doing it. All right, change the margins to a narrow setting. Okay, what could it be? What could it mean by margins? Well, if you look around, there is something called page layout, and it could be, that does seem familiar to or similar to the concept of margins. So I'm going to click that, take a look around, and there is a drop down for margins, and there is a button for narrow. So we figured that out. All right, annual sales worksheet. Make sure I'm working on the correct worksheet down here. Annual sales. Then I'm going to, in B17, which is going to be over there. Is that right? In B17, use counted function to count the number of times that values in cells B6 through B15. Click and drag. B6 through B15, that reference exceeds 500. So equals count if. You'll notice it counts the number of cells with a range that meet a given condition. Opening paren. The first thing it needs is the range. What does that mean? Where is the data to analyze? There's the data. Click and drag. Comma. What's the criterion? Which one of these do you want me to count? So what you want to do is actually anything that's over 500 or 5,000. So greater than 5,000. Now this is actually going to be wrong because I'm typing it in. It's a literal. Anytime you're typing stuff in, you need to put it around quotes. So it's going to be greater than 5,000. Unquote. Press enter. And then it's going to be 7. And you can double check that by simply counting the number of items here over 500, and it should be about 7. Okay, in the totals worksheet, which is here, enter a formula in B2, which is here. That displays the sum of the fiction 12 named range. So it's a sum of a named range. In other words, there must be somewhere in this document where a range of cells has been given an English name. And you can actually find that out by going in here to Formulas, Name Manager, and there is a Fiction 12 named range. And that's in the June worksheet B4 through B33. So June worksheet B4 through B33. In any case, once you know the name, it becomes a lot easier. So if the name is actually Fiction 12, it'll offer that to you. If I hit the tab key, it'll insert it for me. I hit enter. And then it's going to give me a spill, meaning that what it's doing is trying to give me the entire named range. We don't want that. We want to sum the entire main range. So sum Fiction 12. So you'll notice if I simply say I want the Fiction 12 name range, it's going to give me the entire range. So it's going to spill it. The idea is the original is more than one cell. It's going to display that. Now it won't spill it if you do something like this because there's data below it. So if I do equals, press enter, it's going to give me an error message, spill. Why? Because it can't copy it to the cells below. In any case, that would be the wrong approach. Correct approach is sum of what? Sum of the range Fiction 12. Now this is a little tricky here because the source data, make sure we're on the correct worksheet, source data worksheet, sort the data. By two things. First, by customer ID and then product. So within each list of customer IDs that are the same, it's going to do a second sort and sort it by product within each category of customer ID. So you actually need two sorts. If you were to do a sort by customer ID, you would get this, but you don't get the second sort. The second sort is by product. And so you'll see the product is not sorted. If we were to sort by that, you're going to lose the sorting for customer ID. So how do you sort them both? Starting with this, sort this, and then within that, sort that. So what we're going to do is click in the data, and then right click and go to sort, and we find a custom sort. First level is going to be customer ID. Now within customer ID, a second sort is going to be carried out. It's going to be in product. A to Z, and we should then be fine. You'll notice that we have within the Anton customer ID, we have an alphabetical sorting of products. All right, in the quarterly sales worksheet, make sure I'm on the right worksheet here. Quarterly sales, cell B9, down here. What cell? So I'm going to go to F16, which is there. Equals, it's going to be annual sales. Click there. Now, see, it changed the quarterly sales. That's what I was trying to warn you about. You don't want that. You want to keep it at annual sales. So if you click there, I think it'll stay. But if you don't click there, it's going to bounce back and assume you want to change the worksheet. So in any case, keep that in mind, word to the wise. Now, we need annual sales reference. We got that. We want to multiply that by 1. And then we want to add to that 1 that figure here. So it's plus that figure, so 1.20. Now this won't work because what's going to happen, it'll multiply the annual sales F16 figure by 1, which we don't want. We want to multiply that by 1 plus 3. So the order of operations is multiplication and division before addition and subtraction. So here we want the multiplication, we want the addition to happen first. We're going to use the parentheses, which forces Excel to execute that first. Press enter, and then we hit next, and hopefully this is good. A couple ways of doing this. One is to click this guy down here, which gives us the page layout. Once you have the page layout, you have access to the headers and footers. Now, in this case, what I'm going to do is add the current date to the left header field. So you have a left, center, right, current date, page number to the right header field, page number, sheet name to the left footer field. The trick here is to go to footer. Use this button here, go to footer. And I want to see that. So you can also click down there. I'm going to go back here again. Header footer, go to footer. It's bouncing me out of it. So what I wanted, so I needed to hit that key again. And then we want to add the sheet name to the left footer field. So that's the left footer field here. And left footer field. So having a real hard time getting down there, so I'm going to go back into it, hit the go to header, and then it explodes on me again. So I'm going to go back to the header over here. It'll give me that button again, header footer, go to footer. Hopefully I can't see it down there, but it's blinking down there. Maybe I can make it smaller. It's not working, so I'm going to have to just insert the sheet name and see if that works. That's actually the wrong, we don't want it there, we want it. I'm just going to hit the Shift Tab key to get over to the left and insert the sheet name, and then say next. All right, modify the title style to use 20 points. So how do we do that? Let's first find where styles are. If you go to Home, under Cells, no, it's not under Cells, Cell Styles, sorry. You'll look for a title style. Once you find the title style, right-clicking will help. If you right-click on it, you can go to Modify and tell it, okay, I want to format that so that the font is 20. And once the style is changed, then it'll change throughout the document. Now what we need to do is modify the image on the profit and loss sheet. Profit and loss sheet is here. There's the image. I'm going to click on the image. And I can right click on it and then change some size and properties, or I can go to the special menu, change the size and properties over here, and I can make it 1 inch high. Okay. See if that helps. Okay, here we're at the profit and loss worksheet, so I'm going to click on that first. Name cell C5 Est Income. C5. Going to click up here, that's the name box, Est Income. Enter. C6. It's going to be Est Expenses. And C9, use a formula that will, so you'll notice I had to get out of that image there, but what you want to do is take the subtract Est Expenses from Est Income. So equals Est Income minus Est Expenses Okay, here we want in the profits and loss summary sheet that's over here, insert the lightning bolt shape to the right of the data. Insert illustrations, shapes. We're looking for a lightning bolt. Looks like a lightning bolt. Click and drag, that's to the right of the data. Adjust the height to 2 inches and adjust the width to 1.5. Okay, add the text January to B1. Then enumerate the months of the year from cells C1 to M1. What does that mean? Enumerate means? It means fill it out. So click, drag, right click the lower right hand corner box to M1, and there you go. It's going to be smart enough to figure out or assume that you want to do it that way. If you want to change what it does, you can click it and change the behavior, click that, copy cells, fill series, formatting, etc. Okay, in the summary worksheet, which is here, link the text 2009 sales to the 2009 sales worksheet. So what you want is a link from the 2009 sales to the 2009 sales worksheet. So I'm going to create a link. I'm going to insert a link to place in the document 2009 sales. And over here, we want a link to the 2010 sales worksheet. Okay, this one is looking for the highest sales number. So in the top performers worksheet, Click over here. We want determine the highest sales number for 2011 in B3. So the highest one would be equals max, the maximum for 2011. Click and drag, press enter. All right, the way to look at this, we're talking about combined sales worksheet over here. We want to correct the formula here. There's something wrong with this formula. We want percent sales. In order to understand percent sales precisely from 2010 to 2011, the percent change from, which means you want to take the difference between these two, and then you want to use 2010 as the benchmark. So the difference divided by the 2010 figures. So you would say, okay, I want that cell minus that cell divided by the 2010 figure. Now that won't work because of order of operations. What we want to do is have H3 minus I3 to fire off first. That's not going to happen. It's actually going to do the division first. So I'm going to open that up. Put parens around the addition. That's going to force that first. So we have 67%. Okay, how do we do that here? Well, first thing is we have the reverse. We need the difference between the two divided by, actually we need divided by 2010. So we need these two. The difference between those two divided by the sales 2010 D3.